Good morning, everyone, and thank you guys so much for joining today's stream. Hopefully everyone had a great weekend, and the market's not looking too bad this morning. We saw an amazing recovery to the upside on Friday, and even on Wednesday and Thursday too, but this morning it's, I would say, more flat than anything else. Some of the most important news to know about is that there was this terrible crash in China with one of Boeing's planes. We can see that Boeing went from 193 on close from Friday all the way down to lows of like 177. Right now it's at like 184 or so, but that was a pretty sad crash.
Yeah, it definitely was. We have the article pulled up by CNBC here, and it's definitely not good. You know, there was 132 people on board, and as of right now, there's other articles that suggest there is no signs of any survivors. If there is, it looks like it's going to be very low either way, so definitely not good. You know, I'm definitely praying for their families and everything like that, but either way, it's definitely not doing good for Boeing today, Mike. Boeing really fell off, like you mentioned. It honestly got pretty close to that low of last week down there around 172.50. I know it got like one wick extended down to around like 175.50, so we got pretty close, but it's all the way back up now to 185. Hopefully it keeps recovering up, but I have a feeling that as these reports keep coming out, it's just going to get possibly worse for Boeing. The good news is, so far, it hasn't really bled over too much into the other airlines. I know some of the other airlines were down a little bit, but they recovered right back up.
Yeah, good point. Good point. So looking across the market today, it looks like, while we're on the topic of China, some of these China stocks are definitely down. Baba, Baidu, looks like Didi. Yeah, they're all trading lower today, which isn't really the end of the world considering the insane run-up we saw or just last week in general. That was crazy.
Yeah, it really was. That move up last week was amazing. And I know China came out with some amazing statements, and they were talking about how they were going to back their U.S. listed stocks, and that obviously they were going to also stop some of those cybersecurity issues that have been going on over there. So that's going to be big for them once they stop interfering with everything, to say the least. But I'm glad to see that the stocks are still holding up well, Mike. They're not falling off too bad yet. You know, Baba's still up above $100, which is good. Definitely down from Friday, though, which is never good to see. I know that Baba's down pretty big. Even XPEV, Mike, that EV stock is down like 3% as well. It doesn't look like on the chart quite as bad as Baba, but they're all definitely pulling back in a major way. Even some of these growth stocks like Roblox I'm seeing are in the red this morning. Like at market open, we started really pulling back here.
Yeah, check out Square, Tom. I feel like we talk about Square quite a bit, and as bullish as we are on them, it's important to be very objective. For example, over the past couple of days, Roblox went from like 92.72 up to highs of like 143. So what percentage increase is that?
That's 53% in just like 5 or 6 trading days there.
Yeah, so 53% in like 5 trading days. 53%. Like, that is insane. And my point is that even though we are bullish on Square and we think that, you know, this stock has a lot of room to the upside, it's important to be objective and be like, you know what? It just hit a 50% increase in 5 days. There's a good chance it pulls back or slows down at least a little bit. So I think we're going to start seeing that not only with Square, but some of these other growth stocks that have been falling lately, whether you're looking at Teladoc, DraftKings, anything like that. You know, it's just important to be objective.
Yeah, it really is. Like, a lot of these are pulling back this morning, and, you know, they're not crashing or anything like that, just having little pullbacks, which is kind of normal. You know, even Peloton was exploding a lot last week. You can see they're also pulling back this morning, almost down 3%. So you definitely have to be objective. Like Mike said, we're really bullish on a lot of these stocks for the next year, even over the next maybe 6 months or so. But for right now, we just have to be a little bit careful. Also, a lot of these stocks are starting to run up towards some major resistance levels, whether it's Square, Roblox, Unity, whatever it is. You know, they're starting to get to some pretty good levels here. So we'll definitely have to keep that on the radar and be a little careful. Hopefully we do see that continuation up, Mike. I know like some of these stocks like Unity had a pretty nice green candle at open. You know, a lot of my watch list is red, but half of it is also green. So that's good to see. I know that a lot of these safer plays are still moving to the upside, like like McDonald's, KO for Coca-Cola. Look at Coke this morning. They're actually having a pretty good breakout here.
Yeah, that's actually really good, Tom. It's looking good. So good stuff there. Looking at some other movers, are you seeing anything else like breaking out?
Yeah, these chip stocks are also moving up in a good way. AMD at market open dipped right down, but now it's coming right back to the upside. It's starting to really rip up. I'm actually seeing Tesla at the top of my watch list also. They broke above $900 on Friday. I know this one's a fan favorite. It's really running up here. Tesla had a pretty bad downtrend over the past 6 months or so, and they're starting to really recover here, Mike. And this one's really breaking out. It's continuing up, and we're all the way up to 929, almost 930 this morning. So Tesla's running. We also have Blink running, which is kind of in that EV/charging sector. So looking pretty good this morning for some of these like clean energy plays.
Here we go. All right, we have Keisha saying hit the like button, guys. So yeah, if you guys like our streams, it would mean so much to us if you could smash that like button. It only takes like 2 seconds, and Tom and I would greatly appreciate it. And we have Alex, Tom, saying, do you see BLNK starting an uptrend? It seems to have been consolidating over the last couple of weeks between $20 and $25. I would say it looks pretty decent, Tom, for an uptrend. I wouldn't call it like a grade A setup, but I can see it. It is breaking out of that consolidation zone. At the same time, we're seeing growth stocks in general pop up. My concern is, for this one specifically, is if we go to BLNK, over the past week, or not even over the past week, over the past like 4 or 5 trading days, it is up, what is that, like 30% or something crazy like that. So, I kind of feel the same way with BLNK as with other growth stocks, in the sense that I think that it will rise, but in terms of like the next couple of days, I am just a little bit, I can see a pullback over the next couple of days is the point.
Yeah, I can too. And with Blink, I love it this morning. It had a nice breakout, but I will say there was this wick that extended up all the way back on January 18th, and it ran all the way up to right around like 2660, almost 2670 up there at the top of the wick. And we actually got really close to that today. On the 5-minute candle, we ran all the way up to like 2673, and we are starting to consolidate now. That breakout this morning at market open was great, but like Mike said, I'm definitely going to be eyeing up a bit of a slowdown or a pullback soon. We are seeing a lot of stocks, though, continue to break out, which is nice. But in the end, though, we are also seeing some pullback. Like we mentioned earlier, Mike, we have stocks like Roblox starting to fall off here at market open, along with stocks like Square and some of the China plays. So that's definitely important to keep in mind, because this might start happening to some of these other stocks that are still moving, but hopefully we do see this continuation happen out of some of them. And Mike, I know that Oxy has been a pretty big stock lately, and this one is leading my watch list today, up 5.5%. I bet you Warren Buffett is really happy about this.
You already know that. But yeah, it's definitely back on the uptrend. Even Exxon's looking decent.
Yeah, it is. Even on the daily chart, they're starting to like get back up towards those highs, at least on Oxy's case. But yeah, even ZOM is starting to really come back, which is nice, Mike, up 2%. Really broke out this morning. It had a nice gap to the upside, and it continued to run. Let's go check in on good old crude oil. I saw this one was up a lot as well, and we're all the way back up to 107 from lows of last week around 93. So oil's back on the uptrend, at least over the past couple days. And I will say, Mike, I did see a lot of bad articles coming out of Ukraine over the weekend. I actually think I still have some pulled up here. Yeah, there's stuff where Zelensky was warning of World War III. We saw that Russia had actually lost 14,000 troops. At least that's what's being reported. So, we're definitely seeing a lot of fighting going on. And over the weekend, I heard a lot of bad reports of soldiers pushing different positions and stuff like that. So the situation is definitely not getting any better yet.
Yeah, not good to see. And I didn't look into this specific update too much, but I thought I saw some news of the Russians capturing one of the major Ukrainian cities, like Mariupol or something like that. Like I said, I did not look deep into that update, but it was just something on the headlines I saw. But it just goes to further demonstrate, just like what you said, Tom, the situation's definitely not getting any better, unfortunately.
Yeah, and we keep seeing like reports of talks between Russia and Ukraine, but then at the same time, like you said, but then we keep seeing new reports of like a different city being attacked or something like that happening. So it's definitely not good. But I will say, Mike, like our market is weathering the storm right now pretty well. The SPY actually just broke out of that high of Friday. We're moving up in a pretty good way here. And I know the Russian economy is doing terrible. RSX is still not even listed back on the exchange here. And like we keep talking about in our videos, it might not ever come back online. We've seen, I mean, it's very rare, obviously, but sometimes, ETFs get taken off during times of uncertainty like this. And hopefully we see it come back online. But Mike, I mean, who knows? At this point, I think it's just 50-50.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many variables, so we'll see what happens. But it's definitely an interesting situation. We have Michael saying, what are your thoughts on VYGVF? So VYGVF. So this is Voyager. They have a lot to do with like crypto and all that sort of stuff. Honestly, I just don't follow them enough to have like an accurate opinion. Obviously, my initial thoughts is that they're in a great growing industry, but honestly, I just don't follow them, and you know what I mean? Like, I just don't follow them to have enough information. So I can just give you like a technical point of view. Even that looks bad. Like we've been continuously making lower highs and lower lows. We continue to break support. I am seeing a pretty good resistance right around $10. Maybe like, what is that? I would say like $10, maybe like $9.50. And then support is at like $5 or so. But it's just not looking the best in my opinion.
Yeah, it's not. It's just continued back on that downtrend here. And, they deal a lot with, what do you say, crypto and stuff?
Yeah, lots of crypto action.
Yeah, it sounds like a pretty good sector to be in, but, their stock continued to go down here. Keep in mind, though, even Coinbase has been on a pretty bad downtrend. Honestly, they have pretty similar charts. So looking at VYGVF, I think was the ticker.
Yep.
Yeah, that's an awfully lot of letters there. This must be a foreign company or something. But looking at it, it's definitely... it's been on the downtrend. I do feel like that if crypto starts booming again, Mike, this one might do pretty well, but just keep in mind, it's going to be tough to look at. I think Coinbase and other ones would be a little bit better to get into, but in the end, I feel like I said, if crypto does well, this one will do well, but I'm kind of like Mike, I don't follow crypto too much or follow this stock specifically. So if it was me personally and I wanted to get into crypto, I would just go buy crypto itself, but that's just me.
Yeah, for sure. And just because we aren't necessarily like huge fans of this one, it doesn't mean it's bad. We just don't follow it. Like this company can be great. It's just, we just don't really follow it too much, Michael. So consider like, doing a little bit of like fundamental analysis on it, because it might be a decent buy. You never know.
Yeah, it really could. A lot of those companies, it's in a good sector. It's in the crypto sector. And like I said, it's not just them going down. Coinbase has been on a pretty bad downtrend too. So maybe if we see Coinbase start to fly up, maybe Voyager will maybe get a nice pop to the upside also. But yeah, I mean, that's what I'm looking at, Mike. And let's go look at maybe Bitcoin, because it's been a while since we've talked about it. It's been consolidating a lot down here around $40,000. It's risen above it a little bit. It fell below it a little bit, but in the end, 40,000 is like right around this support here. So looking at it, it looks pretty decent, but it's hard to look at. I feel like it will start to move up maybe like whenever all these growth stocks start running back. And, it started moving up with them last week a little bit, but I hope we see a nice uptrend soon, Mike, because Bitcoin has been down here for quite a long time now.
For sure. Yeah, and to be fair, like it was kind of overhyped like a couple months ago, but I guess it's just kind of in that consolidation phase. Like it's been very stagnant for weeks now, and I just feel like we definitely lost the hype that it had a couple months ago, but at the same time, it's not like it's selling off like some crappy penny stock, So yeah, I mean, it's just consolidating, and I'll just be slowly buying over the long term.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, Mike, like I've always hit crypto for being too volatile, but I look at Bitcoin and then I go look at a stock like Facebook, and it makes me think, wow, Bitcoin's holding up pretty well compared to some of these stocks right now.
True.
So
yeah.
I mean, it's kind of crazy to compare these right now.
Yeah, that's a good point. It is a good point. So looking at some of the stock action right now, we are seeing definitely some selling pressure in the growth stocks. which we've been saying. Zoom's been trying to run up a little bit, Tom. I don't know if you saw that one, but it's not really looking too strong today. Like, it's trying, but it's definitely getting rejected at 118, at least this second.
Yeah, I actually was looking at this one earlier and I was pretty surprised because, we were looking at Square falling off and a couple of the other ones going down, and Zoom was holding its ground very well. So I'm glad it's holding up, Mike. Hopefully it does end up breaking above 118. It's going to be tough though. Like we said, it's just, we've had so many up days in a row, like 5 great green days. Like some of these days, Zoom was flying up like 3 to 5% a lot of the time. So we were seeing some pretty nice moves here, and I really hope for another breakout here, Mike, but I'm not sure we'll get it. We have to expect a slowdown soon, and we might see it come in. I know Zoom's kind of like this. Unity actually just broke the high of Friday. So who knows, Mike? Maybe we'll start to see another uptrend here. I know the market really loves to go against expectations lately.
True. Oh, gosh. And then we have Alex saying, nice Apple action. Let's take a look. Yeah, Apple's definitely looking good, Tom. I think you signaled that for your day trade today.
Yeah, I did actually. It had a nice breakout today up above that high of Friday around 164.50, which was awesome to see. Let me go find the exact parameters I had. Yeah, I have it if they broke above 164.54, get into some calls today for a quick scalp. And honestly, the scalp would have already played out very, very nicely. So hopefully you guys check that out. If you're not yet in the Discord, check out the comment section down below and the description. It'll be in there somewhere. I'll go ahead and post the link in the chat pretty soon. But yeah, I mean, it's really flying up today, Mike. A lot of these safer stocks are doing great today. Like Apple, I will say, like even these safer defense plays like Lockheed Martin are doing well. Scrolling down the list, like Raytheon's doing well. Caterpillar's doing pretty great. I mean, it did pull back a little bit here, but at market open, I mean, these stocks were exploding this morning.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I mean, right now the SPY is definitely on that uptrend, as Tom has kind of pointed out. And what's interesting is the stocks that you would expect to be rising aren't rising too much. We have stocks like Microsoft down by 0.6%, Facebook down, Google down, Visa down, Boeing down, of course. Apple's moving up, but some of these other tech stocks are definitely lagging. And you're probably wondering, if those tech stocks are falling or not really doing too much, why is the market rising? And that's because we're seeing stocks like all of these oil plays boom to the upside, like OXY. Tesla's running up, ExxonMobil's running up. We're also seeing a mix of these value plays on the uptrend, like MRK and BMY. Even CVS is running. So long story short, even though the tech plays aren't doing too much today, the positive movement from the value stocks and the energy stocks and even the financial stocks are just outweighing that.
Actually, I'm really happy. Well, actually, I saw JP Morgan down now today, which makes me a little sad, but Bank of America had a great morning. But yeah, I mean, we are seeing a pretty good mix today. Like a lot of stocks are in the red, but we're seeing a lot of sectors also up in the green, like you mentioned. I'm really happy to see these chip stocks like AMD back in the green. I thought that was a pretty nice breakout today, along with NVIDIA. I'm sure those two are definitely helping the markets, along with Tesla. That's definitely a big one. Like, what are the biggest market caps right now, Mike? Like, I haven't looked at the list in a couple of months, but I know Apple's definitely up there. Obviously them being green is really good for the markets. I know Tesla is another huge one, so that's great for them to be green. AMD and NVIDIA have a pretty big weighting as well. So it seems like these like major stocks are green, which is good to see at least, like the bigger market caps.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we have Apple at like 2.6 trillion and then Microsoft at like 2.2 trillion. So those are like the two powerhouses. After those two, we have Google at like 1.8 to 1.9 trillion. So those are the top three.
Yeah, and Google's doing pretty good today. I mean, it's not moving too much, but it did at market open. It had a pretty nice move to the upside, so that's good to see. I will say though, Mike, the SPY is starting to pull back a little bit here. We're actually back below that high of Friday a little bit, and who knows, we might start to see a pullback, kind of like we've been forecasting.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I'm just looking at a couple different plays right now. Yeah, I mean, we're definitely seeing some profit taking, which I would say is a decent thing, But yeah, Oxy just keeps on running. that's like the main thing on my breakout scanner right now. Oxy, ExxonMobil, and like HAL, which is another oil company, I believe.
Yeah, we always forget about HAL. It's actually been a while since I've talked about them, Mike. But yeah, they're pretty big, and I know they've been running up to the upside a lot lately as well. Their chart looks pretty similar actually to like Oxy just about, or almost like a Chevron. I know Exxon's chart's pretty crazy.
Gotcha. All right, well, Tom, what setups are you watching?
Yeah, I mean, these oil plays are great. Honestly, I'm looking a lot at some of these defense plays again. I was looking a lot at Lockheed. They had a pretty big pullback over the past couple of weeks. You know, they were at 479 at the highs. They fell all the way down to lows around 411, and now they're all the way back up to 436 today. They're definitely recovering back, and this movement today has been great. Whether you're looking at Lockheed or General Dynamics or Raytheon, they've been having pretty good moves so far since market open. Raytheon's not the best, but I will say like Lockheed and General Dynamics have been looking pretty good here. I'll definitely be eyeing these ones up. They're generally pretty slow movers, so I'm not going to expect them to fly up like 5 or 10% or anything, but with them breaking out, I'll definitely keep them on the radar. And I really like so far today, Mike, a lot of these safer plays like I was talking about. Well, not safer, but I should say like the value stocks like Coca-Cola, Caterpillar, stocks like that. They were doing very well at market open. So I'm going to keep these ones on the radar and maybe watch for another move back to the upside. Hopefully we see it happen. You know, they were doing pretty well. Another one that's been kind of hot lately is Pfizer, and they're continuing to move up actually today. I wasn't expecting to see them break out like this on the chart, but yeah, I mean, they're continuing their uptrend, and I know Pfizer and Moderna have been flying up because COVID's been kind of breaking out in China. I actually saw some bad news about that over the weekend.
Interesting. Yeah, interesting. Because I know a lot of people were watching those vaccine stocks, like Moderna and Pfizer, over like the past couple weeks or so, and they have been doing pretty good actually.
Yeah, they've been recovering up a lot from those lows, and you know that there was news of COVID in China that came out like last week, and the news just got worse and worse. Like over the weekend, I saw that cases were spreading, and I saw at one point China was going to start imposing some more restrictions or something. So I thought that was pretty bad news to see. But like I saw though, our markets were doing pretty well this morning. I guess the news hasn't really hit too heavily yet, and obviously each country's different. So hopefully it stays over there in China, Mike. I'd hate to see another breakout over here again.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Yeah, I'm trying to find some like good setups, Tom. Like I keep scanning, and it's just like the same stocks. So
yeah, it is. It's like these oil plays are really going though. I mean, it's cool to see Oxy continue up. I wonder how much Warren Buffett's up right now on this one, Mike. Like Oxy just broke its high of the past 6 months, so it's really going.
Yeah, I'm curious what his total stake is. Like I know it was like was it like 6 billion or 7 billion last week, something like that.
Yeah, I thought it was like 7 billion, and they never said his average price. They just said he kept buying between like $52 and $58. So kind of hard to put exact numbers on it, but I'm sure he's up quite a bit right now. That's for sure.
Yeah, I wonder how much he gets in like dividends on that thing.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that would be insane. Let's see. They pay out 13 cents a share, or at least they did on the last one. So that would be an insane one to look at, actually. Like, let's see, $7 billion divided by 60. Let me pull up the calculator really quick.
Yeah, and I'm also curious what the dividend actually is. Because like you said, it was 13 cents on the last dividend, but in previous dividends, it was only 1 cent. So I'm curious. Let me see. So OXY dividend.
Let's just say he got it at like $58. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Say he had it really high. So he has like 120,689 shares. Let's just leave the decimal. Let's just multiply. So we'll do that by the 13 cents there. Let's see. Point. Yeah, I'm not sure, Mike.
That's
I mean,
a
this
lot.
is going to be, that's an insane type of number there for just dividends. I mean, $15 million. That is insane. I don't know. He's going to have to hold it for a while, though, keep in mind. But still, I mean, that's going to be crazy if he gets paid that out.
Yeah, it's true. And that's if he only has like 7 billion shares. Because remember, like, it can take weeks for these whales to actually disclose, like, if they bought or not. So it's like, who knows how many shares he has. And that's also not including like the amount he's up on each stock, and that's also just one dividend payment too. You know what I mean? Like that's just one dividend payment, and there's probably going to be 4 more for the rest of the year. So crazy stuff.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, it's insane. Just like looking at the numbers in general, like that's insane that he get paid out that much. I think I might have overdone that number, Mike. I'm not sure. I think I might have had some bad math on that on stream. Had a little stress going on, trying to get it right for everyone. I think I might have actually gotten it wrong, but we'll have to go type into like a dividend calculator or something like that. Because man, that's a lot you're dealing with when you have like $7 billion worth of stock there. I mean, wow, that's insane to see that he's been buying this uptrend though. It's pretty rare that we see Warren Buffett getting into these type of positions. He's usually getting into something like, Boeing when it crashes or something like that. We generally don't see him buying up oil plays when they've went up, over 100% in the past 3 months. Like,
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, we'll see. So a stock that we have like pulling back a little bit is Facebook. I don't know if you saw that one. It's down like 3%, but like we kind of said, like we were kind of looking for this sort of pullback. We said this right when the stream started. But, yeah, I mean, do you have any, like, levels on Facebook or anything you're watching with it specifically?
yeah, I mean, with Facebook, I was really watching them around $200 last week, but they ended up just kind of exploding up above $200. So, like, as they start to fall off here to the downside, I'm going to obviously watch, like, right around 200 to 201. There was a lot of movement right around there. I also see 205 as a good support. As far as support today, though, as they start falling down, it seems like 208 to 208.50 we've had a lot of bounces at least last week on Thursday and Friday we touched there a few times, so definitely eye up that level. But they're pulling back in a pretty big way today, Mike. They're coming back down 3%, and this is kind of what I more expected to see out of a lot of these stocks that continued up today. This is obviously more of like what I was looking for today, but I will say Facebook had a nice uptrend from pretty much 185 up to 216. So this pullback isn't too bad. They're just consolidating right around 209 or 210 here today. Honestly, Mike, I think it's just price action today. I don't think we're going to obviously see too many big bounces off of any supports or anything like that. I hope that we bounce somewhere around like 208 just for the sake of Facebook holding up here, but it's going to be tough. I feel like we might see a couple of consolidation days. It would just be regular price action, in my opinion. But we did recently retest that nice resistance around 218 to 220. So I don't think that this downtrend is necessarily too bad for Facebook. And honestly, I'm still just going to be looking at a longer-term position down here.
Good stuff. And then for the record, Tom, you were right with OXY's dividend, just so you know. But,
so what was the total?
So it was around like 15.6 million, depending on where he bought his shares. So okay. I believe you used like 58 or something like that. So it was like 15 to 16 million dollars.
Wow, cool. Yeah, that was crazy to see, Mike. I thought I'd gotten it wrong with how much it was, but hey, I guess when you have 7 billion, 15 million's not even that much for you.
Yeah. Like honestly, like I would have thought it would have been more, to be honest. Like I know it sounds crazy, but 15 million on a $7 billion investment. But then again, Oxy is not really a dividend company, so...
Yeah, they only pay 0.07%. So yeah. That's really low, actually. If it would have been something like Kraft, where it pays like 4%, it would have been a lot higher.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's interesting. But looking at some of the other top plays today, looks like DVN is also on the uptrend. It looks like another energy company. It's up almost 5% today, so keep that one on your radar. What else? It looks like X is also breaking out. I don't know if you saw that one. That one's on the uptrend. Oh, Tom, check this out. CCJ, these uranium plays are moving back up, so that's good.
Oh yeah, I love these stocks. CCJ is really doing well, up 5%. This is awesome. They actually just broke that all-time high there, which is great. I know they had been kind of pulling back last week with some of the commodities, kind of like oil and gold a little bit, but they're really recovering back, which is nice. I know the stock UUUU is another one that loves going up. It's up 3.3%, but yeah, CCJ is really moving, Mike. That's awesome to see. And I know this one's been talked about for a while now, and it's been kind of all over the place. Like it ran from $16 up to 28, fell all the way back down to 18. Now we're all the way back up to 30. Like, it's definitely had a wild ride this year.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's check in on Boeing to see how bad the damage is.
Oh no.
It's not too bad actually. Like it's not too bad, but at the same time, Tom, like Boeing's at 183. Like it's been struggling for years at this point.
Yeah, it really has. I mean, let's look at that on like the max daily chart. We can kind of see how bad it's really been. Yeah, I mean, ever since COVID happened, Mike, like we just had that huge crash off to the downside, and then there was a combination of COVID, and then their 737 plane had an issue that caused a crash, and now we're seeing another crash happen. So, man, it's not going to be good for Boeing here in the short term, but hopefully they start holding their ground, Mike. Like, I know they're down 5% today. I will say, with the prospect of a crash happening, I think it could be worse personally. You know, like I think they could have went down even more. Like you mentioned, though, they're already so low that maybe that stops some of the bleeding just because they are that low. But it's going to be a tough one, you know, especially over the next week as more details emerge from this crash. If it turns out that there's something wrong with their 737 jets again or something, they're probably gonna take a pretty big hit. So definitely be careful with this one. But for the longer term, Mike, like I'm still looking at this one for like a nice long-term position. Just still looking to maybe acquire some shares. I'm just waiting for the right time to buy in. But you know, this crash happening is not helpful. You know, I'm definitely not gonna be buying in now this week.
True. Yeah, I mean, what do you think about like dollar cost averaging on Boeing or like selling some puts?
I think that would be a good way to go. I think selling puts on it is awesome as long as you have enough money in your account. You know, like obviously, if you sell one put around like 180, you know, you could end up getting caught if Boeing does fall off a little bit, maybe because of this crash or something like that. So depending on how much money's in your account, I think that's definitely a good way to go. If you can sell a put at 180 and Boeing keeps falling down, and maybe you can sell another one at 150, another one at 125, it might make for some pretty good trading here. I know some of those puts, especially the ones longer out, Mike, have some pretty good value to them on Boeing. So hopefully we see that play out in a nice way with those puts. But yeah, I think dollar cost averaging into shares will be a good way to go too. Just make sure you do it in a slow way, because I have a feeling, you know, obviously whenever stuff like this happens with crashes and stuff, sometimes these stocks take pretty big hits, and Boeing has a big support down there around $150, and I'd hate for them to come back down to there, but you know, we have to be a little bit objective. If you are going to dollar cost average, I would definitely make sure you have a lot of room to run just to make sure you can get that price as low as you can.
Sounds good. And then, Tom, let's check back in on the VIX after the once-in-a-lifetime event we saw last week. Let's see.
Oh, yeah, that was insane, Mike. Like, yeah, let's definitely look at this one again.
Yeah, so it looks like it's definitely calming down, which is a good thing. What we saw last week was jaw-dropping. Some funds got squeezed horribly, which, you know, I guess that's what happens when you over-leverage. But, yeah, that was crazy. But anyways, we are clearly seeing the VIX appear to return to normal value. So that's good. Honestly, there's not really a play on it right now because it's just not worth it. Like, IV is still kind of high for it too. So honestly, there's not too many updates with this one. It's good to see it appear to return to normal.
Yeah, I'm glad that it's getting back to these normal levels. And, you know, it's kind of down today on a day where the SPY started moving up a little bit at market open. So I'm glad to see it still kind of moving the way it should. I will say, though, the SPY is starting to sell off here, Mike. So maybe we'll start to see the VXX start to pop back up a little bit. That might make for some pretty good trading if we do see the SPY start to pull back in more of a major way. Right now, the SPY is still at a pretty good level. We could definitely still hold our ground and go back up. I know 444 was a pretty big resistance last week, and it looks like it's holding up as a pretty good intraday support. We're seeing a couple bounces on it right now. So hopefully we see the SPY go back up, Mike. And how's UVXY doing? I know that one, honestly, like it was crazy to see how the VXX, Mike, how that one got squeezed, but then these other ones didn't really have much movement at all. That's what really made me look at that and say, that's a weird situation. You know, like that really threw my radar off once we saw that. And that stream that morning was insane, Mike. Like I could not believe that we were seeing the VIX the VXX run up like that, and then the VIX index stayed the same. But hopefully we see these stocks start to come back up, especially if the market falls. These ones are so fun to trade whenever we do see some nice declines with the SPY, but hopefully the SPY just keeps on this nice uptrend, Mike. I know that so far today it's holding up pretty well. I'm a little bit worried though that we're going to keep pulling back. Like my watch list is slowly getting like redder and redder as we go on. So hopefully these pullbacks quit happening. You know, even Apple's in the red, is back in the red now.
Yeah, that's true. Going back to the the VXX for a second, when it was booming up on, was that Tuesday, Tom? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, Tuesday.
Okay, yeah, so Tuesday, I just saw VXX flying to the upside. Like, it was exploding, and I'm like, I know the SPY is about to be down like 5%. And then I looked at the SPY, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, it's actually not bad. But that just goes to show you, like, the fact that you said, Tom, how VXX was flying up and then UVXY and these other ones were normal. It goes to show you that these funds over leveraged so much on VXX because they got squeezed, you know, like, but they didn't over leverage on UVXY, or if they did, they managed their positions better. So it's just a crazy event, you know, and it goes to show you how sometimes even these black swan events can screw over hedge funds and institutions. Like, you know, clearly none of those funds were expecting Barclays to suspend its sales and issuances of new notes on VXX, and that squeezed them, you know, and it just goes to show you that sometimes crazy things happen, crazy, unlikely things happen, and you just have to be prepared for them because it's just a part of life.
Yeah, even the big dogs like these hedge funds get hit sometimes, and I'm sure everyone's happy to hear that the hedge funds lost money on this one, Mike, because, you know, we go back, we look at like AMC and all these things that have happened over the past couple of years. Hedge funds definitely don't have a lot of respect right now. So it's definitely funny to see them start to lose more money. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be happy to see that. I know VXX going up was insane last week, Mike. And whenever we saw it at one point, like, what was it that one day? It was up like 40% or something. Like, let's go check it out from the close the day prior to the high. Yeah, it was up like 44, almost 45% there. So that's just crazy to see how much it was up in that one day. And wow, I mean, I would have hated to have been the guy managing that fund that day, Mike. I mean, could you imagine the call from his boss? You would have, you'd be in some trouble.
Oh yeah,
that whole team is gonna get in trouble there.
Yeah. Speaking of like quote unquote short squeezes, how is AMC looking?
AMC today was doing pretty good. It's actually holding up decent. I will say at market open, it had a really nice run to the upside. But we did touch my trend line and come right to the downside. You know, take that for what it's worth. You know, you can take the trend line for whatever you want. But if we look at this trend line over the past year, Mike, we've had a ton of bounces on this. We only were able to break above it a couple of times there when this started having a lot of momentum around earnings. And that was the only time we broke above this trend line. So besides that, we've just bounced off of it and stayed lower. Today, we just touched it and it started coming back down. Who knows? You know, we might see a nice breakout here to the upside soon. I know GameStop reported earnings last week, Mike, and they ended up going down initially, and then the very next day, they started ripping right back up. So who knows? Maybe we're going to see some nice momentum come into some of these hype plays, I guess I would call them. I don't even know what to categorize these stocks as anymore.
True. Yeah. Another one that I've been watching is Peloton lately. I know you mentioned it last week for like a second, I think, how, you know, like Amazon, Nike, or Apple, like there were rumors of maybe them buying out Peloton. But Peloton, I don't know. I mean, like if you want to be in it, it's at a decent level, but, you know, it's risky. It has its own unique risk. You know, they're not doing the best, like, financially.
Yeah, they're really not. That's the issue with them. I hope that they do better, and you know, if they do get bought out, that would probably be a really good thing for them. So I don't know. I will say though, personally, like as a, you know, just like as someone who looks at these stocks all the time, I think it would be better if Peloton tried to weather the storm and maybe do things on their own if they could do that without financially getting into too many hardships. But you know, I hope that if a deal comes through, it helps the stock go up, and it's going to be a really risky stock to own. I would say, Mike, like if you had a portfolio and you even had a bunch of growth stocks, like I would say this one's even riskier than like DraftKings or like stocks like that. I know it might not be, but looking at it in the end, I personally think it is. And I know that there's a lot of stocks I'd really rather own, like Zoom and Corsair and just stocks like that I like a lot more. So Peloton's not my favorite, but I will say I think, Mike, it could be good for the future. It's just, in the short term, it's all over the place, and I hope it recovers up with these growth stocks. But like you said, they have a lot of individual issues going on. Their fundamentals are not the best, and then of course they keep having, like, they had terrible news last year of like people getting hurt on the machines, and then obviously just not as many orders coming through and people canceling their subscriptions. So it's definitely just not good for them right now.
For sure. Yeah. And then another thing was, I do agree with you with them being like riskier than some of these other growth plays. But another thing I wanted to mention is with Peloton. Peloton has a problem with demand for their products right now. Obviously, when everyone was locked down and the world was shut down, people wanted to work out, and a lot of people bought Pelotons. It was like Peloton was one of like the top, I guess you can say, trends of 2020. Like I feel like a lot of people ended up getting them, and it was just hot in 2020. But as the world reopened, that demand fell significantly. So the problem with Peloton is a little bit different than the problem with some of these other growth stocks who are not in the best positions right now, like Rivian. Like, for example, there's a ton of demand for Rivian's vehicles right now. They're having a production problem. Peloton, they're also having some production problems, but the main problem is the supply, or is the demand problem. So I just figured I'd bring that up because, like, it's important to understand like why stocks are falling. You know what I mean? Like the reason Rivian's falling is completely different than the reason Peloton's falling. And it just goes to show you how, the market can be a little complex sometimes.
Yeah, it really can. And, my main hope is, Mike, is that so far Peloton's been moving up with some of these growth plays. Maybe we'll see Peloton recover up a little bit if we continue to see the growth stocks go up. So that would be my main hope here. But you're right. I mean, there's definitely so many different issues, and each company has something different that is affecting them. And you're right, that for me with Peloton, that's definitely not good to see that their demand is so low. I remember, Mike, I used to see like Peloton trucks all over the place and people were ordering them left and right. We even had a lot of people in the Discord getting them, but I haven't heard anything about them in a long time. And, I'm guessing that whenever the world reopened, a lot of people just went back to their old routines. And, I will say, it's been refreshing to finally get back out in the world again. It's definitely nice. So I can see why Peloton's having some issues. And, I know stocks like Zoom, Mike, like a lot of people also talk about Zoom in that type of sense as well, that, they're getting hit because obviously COVID's going away and people are not going to be using Zoom quite as much. But I feel like Zoom is a little bit different. I feel like I've seen them, like their numbers are holding up really well. We're continuing to see their revenue grow and stuff like that. And Peloton is just like their fundamentals are just not there for me right now. It's just nothing compared to some of these other stocks.
Yeah, exactly. And just like you said, like Zoom is in a completely different position. They continue to post record revenue every single quarter, and like they're doing fine. So I own Zoom for the long term, and I don't plan on selling it for years. So we'll see what happens. But looking at some of these plays today, it looks like Tesla's pulling back a little bit. Microsoft is on the low a day, so we're definitely seeing some profit taking right now. But yeah, like check out Tesla. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's actually almost back to that low of Friday, or the high of Friday, which is insane. I mean, it started really breaking out today. I hate to see it pull back like this, and I'm sure the market's continuing to come back a little bit as well. Yeah, look at the SPY. It's actually now below 444, and it's starting to get pretty low here, Mike. I'm seeing like a next support around like maybe 442, and then like 440 after that. There's been a lot of bounces, honestly, around like 441. So maybe 441 would be the main level to look for. But we've seen a lot of like different intraday levels with the SPY lately. The SPY's been like it's had a lot of choppy movement, even though we've been going up. Like look at Wednesday, like whenever Powell spoke, the way SPY sold off and then came right back up was insane. And then on Friday, it had a lot of up and down movement, like right off that 441 resistance. So definitely be careful with the SPY today, guys. Like we said at the beginning of the stream, we have to expect a pullback at some point out of the market, and we might be seeing it happen today and maybe for the next couple days. But hopefully by Friday, the pullbacks are done and we're back to ripping to the upside. Because I know price action is pretty hard to read, Mike, but as far as looking at it here, I feel like the market has formed a pretty good support, like on the daily chart, especially like with the SPY. We have lots of bounces around 420. So hopefully we continue to just keep moving up off of these levels. Like I said, we might fall down for a couple of days, but I feel like, by Friday we could have renewed momentum.
Awesome. Well, do you have any last minute like inputs or any last minute setups, plays, long-term plays, day trades, anything before we close out of today's stream?
Yeah, longer term plays, as the market starts to pull back this week, we might start to see some bigger pullbacks out of these stocks like Square, DraftKings, Disney, stocks like that. And if you guys were feeling like that last week, maybe you missed the boat on some of these stocks, maybe as it starts to pull back, it'll be a pretty good week to enter into some of these longer term plays. We're starting to see some nice supports forming on the daily chart here, which we haven't seen in a while. Like in Disney's case, we just continually kept breaking below supports and having bad gaps to the downside. We finally got a nice double bottom around $130. We've had about 3 bounces here right now, so maybe that'll end up holding up. I know there's been a lot of stocks that lately have ripped to the upside, and whether you're looking at Disney or Square, DraftKings, Peloton even, Corsair, Palantir, a lot of these stocks ripped up last week in a pretty major way. And, like a lot of them were up like 30%, like Palantir here just last week alone was up like 24%. So, if you feel like you missed the boat this week with some of these pullbacks, might be a good time to enter. And especially if you see us pull back and maybe like bounce off some nice supports, it might be a really good time. So definitely eye it up. And, selling puts down here is never a bad idea either, Mike. You might be able to even acquire some shares at even a lower price than now. So definitely eye up some long-term positions. I really like the way we moved up last week, Mike, and I feel like that momentum has brought some renewed enthusiasm back into the market. So hopefully we see it continue.
There we go. Well, thank you guys so much for joining. I just want to give a shout out to every single person who joined today. So thank you so much, Keisha, Carlos, Hunter, Michael, Alex, Vicky, let's see, George, I am Mike, and Raymond. Thank you guys so much for joining today. We are seeing some profit taking, which I think is a good thing. It's when you have stocks boom up 50% in 5 days, you got to see some profit taking. I'm talking specifically about Square here, but a lot of other growth stocks are in the same exact setup, and not even all growth stocks. Like even some of these value plays are definitely a little bit overextended. So we'll see what happens, guys. But again, thank you guys so much for joining, and have a great rest of your day.